Let's go. Jim?
First of all, thank you all for coming tonight. My name is Sue Peterson. I'm the director of the speech and debate team here at CSU Chico, and I appreciate you all coming out to see what our students do during the school year. We are a competitive intercollegiate speech and debate team, which means we're much like an athletic team. We travel around the state and country competing against other schools, colleges, and universities in public speaking events. Some of them are very similar to the ones that you do in your classes, and so you'll see persuasive and perform tonight and an impromptu speech. But some of them are much different, and you'll see a couple of those tonight. Those are called oral interpretation events. I always like to see a big group of people here because one of the purposes of this event is to expose you to what we do and hopefully encourage you to think about possibly participating on the speech and debate team while you're here at CSU Chico. And so if you see things that you think you might be interested in doing, please be sure to get in touch with your instructor. Let them know. They know how to get in touch with me. And I'll be sure to get the information to you on how to take the class. You can enroll in units. The university's IRA programs pays for us to travel, so all of your travel costs are paid for when you're a part of the team. We have a bevy of coaching opportunities that you can look to experts who have competed in speech and debate in the past, who will coach you through and get you ready for competitions. And we have a long history of being very successful on both the state and the national level in speech and debate. I graduated from CSU Chico in 1998. I was part of the speech and debate team here at Chico State. And I went on to graduate school, which is if you're interested in going to graduate or law school, speech and debate, participating in speech and debate while you're here at CSU Chico puts you a step above everyone who doesn't do that when they're in college. And not only provides you with some skills that will make you successful in both your undergraduate and graduate or law school education, but more importantly, it provides you with a lot of networking opportunities. We have alumni who are successful attorneys all across the nation now, who were part of the speech and debate program when they were here at CSU Chico. We have alumni who teach in many universities across the nation now. And we have alumni who are successful business people, successful journalists, successful screenwriters, anything that you are interested in. This is a great networking opportunity to get involved in because the people who do speech and debate in college go on to do really amazing things when they get done with their schooling. So I would encourage you to check into it. See if it's something that you'd be interested. You don't have to do it for all 4 years. You don't have to have previous experience. We have a lot of people. I did not have previous experience when I started doing it in college, and I competed at the national level my last 2 years. So it's something that you can get into while you're in college and be very successful at, even if you don't have previous high school experience. And if you have previous high school experience, we really want you on the team because you already know what you're getting yourself into. So. And tonight you'll see a variety of events performed from the team members. Many of these events are going to be, have been successful at the regional level. They've won awards, many first place awards, second place awards, third place awards. And you'll see a competitor tonight who's going to be competing, representing CSU Chico at the national competition this year. So you guys are getting a great exposure to what it means to do speech and debate, and I hope you'll consider doing it while you're here at CSU Chico and telling your friends about it. Even if you're not interested, you might know someone who's interested, so make sure to spread the word. So without further ado, I'm going to let the students go on with the performance tonight. Thank you again for coming.
Hello, welcome again to Speech Night. It is with my great pleasure to present to you Roxana Aramo tonight. She is a first-year member here at the Speech and Debate team and a junior here at Chico State University. She competes in both events of impromptu and persuasive, and tonight she will be presenting to you her persuasive speech on the ratification of the United Nations Conventions of the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Thank you.
The first World Report on Disability, conducted in 2011 by the World Health Organization and the World Bank, found that there are over 1 billion people in this world with some sort of disability. Included in this shocking statistic are not only those born with disabilities, but also become disabled, mentally or physically, at some point in their lives, such as veterans and seniors. According to the United States Department country reports on human rights practices conducted in 2012, Angola, a relatively small country, has 500,000 people, 80,000 of whom are landmine victims, and only 30% of these individuals were able to take advantage of state-provided services, such as rehabilitation, training, counseling, or schooling. Only 90,000 of the total 500,000 disabled in Angola received help from the state. According to the reports, China, the world's most populous country, has roughly 85 million disabled people, and 1/4 or 21 million of these people live in extreme poverty and receive little to no help from the state. Because of situations like these, the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities was adopted by the United Nations on March 13, 2006, and was open for signatures on December 30, 2007. The convention is the United Nations effort to provide an international standard of life in order to promote, protect, and ensure the full and equal enjoyment of all human rights and fundamental freedoms by all persons with disabilities, and to promote respect for their inherent dignity. Today, I am going to discuss the denial of rights and lack of accessibility across the country for disabled people, why this violation of human rights exists, and how we as a nation can influence the international community to change by ratifying the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. The problem we currently face is the restriction and denial of rights, as well as the lack of accessibility for disabled people in the developing world. The United Nations defines disabled as those who have long-term physical, mental, intellectual, or sensory impairments, which, in interaction with various attitudinal or environmental barriers, hinders their full and effective participation in society on an equal basis with others. Disabled people across the world are being discriminated against every single day. An editorial in the LA Times published on September 25th, 2013, states that in many places, discrimination against the disabled is pervasive. This means that although disabled people are a minority, the number of disabled people around the world is growing. And as they grow in numbers, so does the discrimination they face. For the very few of us that do not know or have any disabled people in our lives, you may be asking yourself how this issue pertains to us if we have the Americans with Disabilities Act that specifically prohibits discrimination based on disability. Janice McCoy is an Army wife and a mother of 2 sons who both have autism. As an Army wife, Janice has to be ready to uproot and move her family whenever her husband is reassigned. Janice McCoy wrote for the Rome News Tribune on September 14, 2013, where she described the problems she faced as a result of unequal access to proper accommodations for her children while overseas. Due to the international shortcomings, Janice had to stay in the United States while her husband was abroad for over 3 years. Janice McCoy, her 2 autistic children, and many others just like them are why we need to be concerned with the international community stance on disability. Despite the fact that as Americans, we have equal access for the disabled, this does nothing to provide for Americans that study or travel abroad. The lack of equal access to buildings, workplaces, programs, and many other public accommodations such as these affect us Americans. Brian Markwalter, the Senior Vice President of Research and Standards for the Consumer Electronics Association, spoke on the policy briefing of the impact of the CRPD on the international accessibility ecosystem in the Senate on June 5th, 2013. Brian Markwalter said, "We forecast 130 million smartphones to be shipped in the U.S. this year, about 900 million worldwide. So making accessible products and creating accessible options opens up markets. Companies ultimately get access to broader markets through harmonized efforts like the CRPD. Making our technology accessible to everyone would only be beneficial to us by expanding our markets and providing more customers." Now that we have established the points at issue, we can look at the causes for this problem. The discrimination against the disabled worldwide has been due in part to the refusal of adopting a common law or international norm that protects disabled people. Disabled people are the common targets for discrimination because they are underrepresented
On October 21st, 2010, the Immigration Policy Center published a refugee fact sheet that reported that from 2000 to 2009, the United States took in as little as 26,000 to as many as 72,000 refugees per year. A refugee is defined as a person who was unable or unwilling to return to their home country because of a well-founded fear of persecution due to race, membership in a particular group, political opinion, or national origin. There are countless laws and international programs such as these that protect certain groups of people, but none recognize or protect the disabled. Because of this international inadequacy, countless of disabled people are neglected. In addition to our lack of a global law that protects the disabled people, the United States refuses to ratify the CRPD for fear of losing our sovereignty. Our sovereignty is used as an excuse for the lack of adoption of an international law. In ratifying the CRPD, we are held accountable to the United Nations Convention, and a small number of Congress members feel that this means we are surrendering our sovereignty to an international entity, something that we would never want to do. Michael Ramey, Director of Communications and Research of a nonprofit organization called Parental Rights from October 8, 2013, claims that if the United States ratified the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, we would be handing over our sovereignty. He says that given the right case, the committee can turn its own interpretation into binding law, therefore leading to the surrender of our sovereignty to the United Nations. Now that we have discussed the causes of our problem, here's what we can do in order to be the voice of change and make sure the United States ratifies the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. On a federal level, the solution is clear. We need to ratify the CRPD. The United States ratification of the CRPD would only lay out a greater foundation for the rest of the world to do the same. On an individual level, the solution to this problem is becoming better educated on the lack of inclusion, dignity, and equality disabled people face throughout the world every single day. We need to inform others and bring awareness to this global problem. We need to contact our representatives and inform them of where we stand on this issue. We can also volunteer or donate to organizations such as the United States International Council on Disabilities, the National Disabilities Rights Network, and many more organizations just like these, determined to help give disabled people their rights back. With technology growing each and every single day, social networking has become one of the easiest and most effective ways of communicating with others. The Leadership Conference on Civil Human Rights has started a Twitter campaign to inform people about the CRPD. By using hashtags like CRPD or Disability Street, we can reach and inform the most people as well as stay updated ourselves. Today, I hope I have made you aware of the violation of basic human rights that disabled people around the world are battling, the lack of global standards that is the cause of this problem, and how we can help regain the dignity, equality, and inclusion of disabled people on a global level. No more should 1 billion disabled people have to face an inaccessible world, but instead, they should live like any able-bodied person does.
Hi, my name is Alex Underwood. I'm here introducing to you my teammate Kyle Davis. Kyle is a junior at Chico State. This is his first semester on the speech and debate team, and he is competitive in Lincoln Douglas debate, extemporaneous speaking, and impromptu speaking, which you will hear him perform today. All right, I'm giving him his prep time starts now. Please be quiet so you can chat.
30 seconds used. Minute used. Minute 30 used.
Show of hands. How many of you guys have seen the Star Wars prequels? Most of us, right? Keep your hands up. Of you, how many are glad you saw the Star Wars prequels? Really? Okay. To each his own, I suppose. I thought they were a disaster. I was a huge Star Wars fan. I was real looking forward to Star Wars prequels. And when they came out, it was just a disaster. In fact, I think everything George Lucas has come out with in the past several years has just been terrible, horrible decisions. And this leads me to my quotation. Our ability to create has outreached our ability to use wisely the products of our invention. I'm interpreting this to mean the importance of wise decision making. George Lucas made unwise decisions by making those movies. I'm going to explore this theme through three different examples. I'm going to be talking about the recent nuclear disaster in Japan. I'm going to discuss work of fiction, Jurassic Park. I'm going to discuss the current problem of overpopulation. So first, the recent nuclear disaster in Japan, Fukushima nuclear disaster. What happened was a couple years ago, back in 2011, there was an earthquake and a tsunami, and it damaged this nuclear reactor in Japan. And they couldn't fix it in time, release some radiation. A whole bunch of people died, a whole bunch of people got sick. Now, at the time, building that reactor probably seemed like a good idea. Japan, they don't have a lot of native natural resources. They have to import a lot of what they use. So nuclear reactor may have seemed like a way to become energy independent. So what they did is they built a nuclear reactor there. Something else about Japan you should know is it's right next to a fault line. And it causes lots of earthquakes, lots of tsunamis. Happened lots of times throughout Japanese history. So lo and behold, earthquake, tsunami happens, nuclear reactor breaks, a whole bunch of people die. Unwise decision. Next thing I'm going to explore, Jurassic Park. Excellent movie, better book. If you haven't read it, I would read the book. Now, what happens in this story is scientists discover a way to take frog DNA, and they found some dinosaur DNA and a mosquito and some amber. They smushed it together or some other deeply implausible process, and they made dinosaurs. They cloned dinosaurs, right? So they clone these dinosaurs, and they stick them all together in a park, and they think, hey, we're going to make a lot of money on this. We're going to have rides, we're going to have kids come over here. It's going to be a great time. But what happens? They're wild animals. First chance they get, they break free. They start eating people. The guy on the toilet that gets eaten by the T-Rex and everything. It was a disaster. Unwise decision. That was one of the themes of the movie, is that our ability to make wise decisions outpaces our ability of scientific innovation. Finally, I'm going to discuss wise decision making through overpopulation. You may be asking, what does overpopulation have to do with wise decision making? Well, where do people come from? That's right. So, and making people feels really, really good. And how do I know this? No. It feels so good that people will do it even when we can't feed the people already here. So we have 7 billion some odd people on the planet, and it keeps growing. And still there are thousands and thousands of people that are starving to death today because people can't get enough of making more people. All right, so I'm gonna close this up here. Today I have discussed the topic of wise decision making. I have discussed this through looking at the examples of the Fukushima nuclear disaster, about the decision to build a nuclear reactor next to a fault line in a very, very risky place. I've explored this through the work of fiction, Jurassic Park, the decision to combine dino DNA and make dinosaurs, and then make dinosaurs run amok. And finally, I've discussed it through the issue of overpopulation, how even if it's not a great idea to make more people, people will continue to make more people. So in light of knowing that of people's ability to make poor decisions, like our friend George Lucas, next time George Lucas says he's gonna make another Star Wars movie, maybe you won't hold your breath and be so excited.
Hello, I'm Rebecca. I'll be introducing my teammate Kathleen Deirdre. She broke once at CSU Northridge with her speech, and tonight she'll be doing a prose piece. Her speech is about a woman's journey as her neighbor builds a fence that is almost in the middle of her driveway. The story reveals a hard truth about life, about how things would be different if we just looked at the lives of others around us. Please give it up for Kathleen. You want to build a fence in between our homes, but it'll be solid wood with no space or light between the slats. And it'll be right along the property line you had surveyed just this week. You asked me to understand that you didn't ask the surveyors to add land to your land, and that the property line just happens to be closer to my house than anybody thought. But if you build a 6-foot-tall solid wall right there, right where the pink flags are, I won't be able to park in front of my door. Not without banging into your fence anyways. I'll have to park at least 20 feet away. You will not. We often become unaware of our surroundings. We are so focused on our own unique struggles that we are blind to the fact that our friends, family, and even neighbors have struggles of their own. This is leading to a loss of community, a loss of understanding, and a loss of the other. We need to take a step back, take a different perspective, and understand the struggles of others. If I loved you, I remember one. Why 6 feet tall? It seems awfully high, and it's so close to our house. We've always had a view. When we go outside, we'll see a wall. We'll feel like we'll be walled in. We will be walled in. It's going to be a big change. But that isn't the problem. The real problem is that I won't be able to park in front of our house. So here's the part I go over in my head when I think about buying the house, having the land surveyed, finding the survey line directly in the driveway of your neighbors, and then telling them you're going to build a fence, a solid fence, right there. That's the part I don't understand. You know nothing about the reasons why it might matter to us to be able to park in front of our own door. We hire a lawyer. It's just possible that we have rights too. Our lawyer sends a letter saying we want you to hold up on construction while we investigate the situation. We also send you a handwritten note behind our lawyer's back saying we don't want this to be a legal fight. Please. We just want you to allow us to be able to park in front of our door as a courtesy. We only hired a lawyer to introduce a document. You made it seem so official. Your response comes overnight, and you say I have every right to erect a fence on my own property. For several weeks, the letters fly back and forth. You're amazed that we think we have any rights, but we're amazed that you think rights are the issue here. On the day
you build a fence. Sam says he's going to paint a bright red line right where the pink flags are. So if someone says 1 foot right there, I'm going to sit out on the porch with the shotgun and shoot someone's leg off if they step in that damn red. There's a conversation that hasn't been had, I told Sam. A conversation human beings have with each other. He isn't quite treating us like a person. He isn't quite a person either. He's an animal. He's a creature. He's like the Yeti or something. He is. He is exactly like the Yeti, with that scowl on his face, the way he stomps around on his leg all the time. It's inspiring. And that's what we call you after that. The Yeti. I suppose it's the ability of yours not to care that intrigues me so. If I loved you, I would tell you how much you're missing. I want to scold you in that harsh, correcting tone of mother to child. I want to make you see things the way they are, the way they should be. I want to give you some sort of imagination. I want you to imagine that I have a life that matters. You should care about my life. The fence goes up on the day we're out, and you have no idea. If I loved you, I would invite you in, and I would sit you down, and I would say to you, Yeti, you don't know our secret pains. You don't know anything about us. You don't know why we care. But then again, I would have to admit, I don't know much about you either. Like why it matters you put that damn fence right there. What has happened in your life that makes the property line mean so much? Why do you think you deserve and you should get what you right? I'm sure that you must have been hurt very badly at one time or another, or you wouldn't have acted the way you did. No one can act that way and care so little about other people. I'm sure you can. Or maybe it's the fact that you haven't been hurt. You can't experience pain because you've never felt it. I'm sure it's a defense mechanism of some kind. But it's even ridiculous of me to think about you in that way. It's been 2 months now since that damn fence went up. 2 months, more or less. And from my bed, I can hear your children playing on the other side of the wall. And sometimes I turn the television up to drown them out. It's a terrible thing to feel yourself hate a child. I know that you go to work a little after Sundays. I hear your car door, the ignition. I know you have a wife, a friend who visits me, and we gossip. There's speculation about you. You must have heard by now that I'm sick. It's that kind of town, that kind of neighborhood, where that kind of family. So first there was the mammogram, then the notes asking me to go back to the doctor, the biopsy, ultrasound, finally the doctor. There was a spread in the lymph nodes. One doctor spoke about saving my breast, but I said, I don't give a shit about my breast. Just do whatever makes this stop. I sometimes think when I'm gone, Sam's gonna drive right into your well-constructed fence. I mean, I can picture them clearly, stand behind the wheel, driving it into gear, veering left. Because that's exactly what I would do if the tables were turned. Because who else is left to blame except you? We've used all other obvious candidates long ago. I hope you feel bad about what you did. You really expect to feel bad. You wouldn't have done this in the first place. If you cared a tiny bit about us and our lives, you wouldn't have just wouldn't have acted the way you did. We're different. And it was all decided before we met. There was never I don't tell Sam about his now fading fantasies of mine. The ones that started early on about me trying to reason with you, trying to make you believe that I exist, that I have a life, that I matter. I don't tell him that. I'm so close to now being entirely convinced that I see things that were invisible to me before. There's a universe of sorrow constructed over time, and a realization that this is, in fact, our lives. And that is what we know. Stan phoned me from the office to let me know he'll be late. Just as well. I'm tired anyways. talk to see anything anymore. Our relationship is kind of lost now. He says to me, Jess, take care. Jess. It's a word we use a lot more now, so we put on every other meaning of it. Just be careful. Just don't worry. Just be good to yourself. Just take care. If you just move that fence just a damn foot, there was a little bit of grace. Hi, my name is Margot Gavin, and this is my third semester on the speech and debate team. Tonight, I will be introducing Morgan Dixon, who is a sophomore here at CSU Chico, and this is her second semester on the speech team. Morgan has traveled extensively throughout California, competing in impromptu, poetry, persuasive, and informative. She has recently qualified for nationals with her persuasive, and tonight she will be doing her informative for you on universal speech translation. So without further ado, Morgan. You ever find yourself stuck in a conversation with someone who doesn't speak your language? You find yourself speaking slower, as if that'll help them understand, or start using those coded baseball hand signals that are somehow supposed to get your message across? It is precisely situations like these that have continued to fuel the race towards creating a universal speech translation device. Currently available speech translation technology falls short in a number of important areas. But with companies like Google and Microsoft on board, and a device like Signal popping up, we might soon witness technology once reserved for the science fiction genre enter into reality. Today, we will begin by first understanding why previous attempts at perfecting speech translation have failed. Then we will explore the emergence of new technologies before finally considering some implications, both positive and negative. So what exactly is speech translation? Speech translation is the process by which conversational spoken phrases are instantly translated and spoken aloud in a second language. A universal device capable of this has been sought after for centuries and is believed to hold the potential to completely revolutionize the way people communicate and do business. Now, the concept has been around for decades, but the technology we've seen has never quite measured up to the grandeur of what shows like Star Trek and Doctor Who theorize as being possible. One of the main reasons, as Satoshi Nakamura, an executive researcher for the National Institute of Information and Communications, explains, is because currently available speech translation technology and mobile applications continue to lack in one vital area, the distinction between phrase translation and speech translation. Phrase translation is the process by which conversational phrases are translated by definite words, where speech translation necessitates the ability to understand a contextual meaning behind those individual words. A Spiegel Online International article published in September of 2013 explains that ambiguity in syntax remain a significant problem for automated translation tools. The translations they produce may be comprehensible, though just barely. It is precisely this ability to distinguish a contextual meaning from individually defined words which emerging technologies aim to achieve in their products. The first noteworthy attempt at perfecting speech translation came in the form from the company known as SpeechGear, the instant translation company. But the problem with their technology was that it was limited to a computer-based interaction, which meant it failed at being compact, convenient, and accessible for people to use. Another widely known attempt came in the form of a mobile application known as Jibigo. Jibigo was created by Alex Wade Bell, a communications and language technology professor at Morrell University in 2009. And while at first it only translated between Spanish and English, it eventually evolved to translate between 10 different language pairs. Now,
Technology like the two I've just stated are available and one similar like it as well, but these products have yet to gain mainstream integration or use in daily lives. So now that we understand a little bit more about the currently lacking technologies behind speech translation, we can consider how companies like Google, Microsoft, and Sigmo plan to resolve them. According to the previously cited Spiegel Online International article titled Google's Quest to End the Language Barrier, under the guidance of computer scientist from Germany, Franz Josef Bach, the company is making significant progress towards a universal translation tool. Google has taken a new approach to universal translation in defining dictionaries and developing grammatical structures, and all the rules that are normally fed into programs trying to mimic humans are a thing of the past. Instead, Google uses existing online translation tools to find matching phrases that already exist. Then it computes how to best compose a new sentence based on the information. When we can expect to see the product remains unclear, but Bach refers to the company's progress as that of a quantum leap toward perfecting real-time speech translation. But still, Google faces a serious challenge from competitors at Microsoft. And according to an October of 2013 Extreme Tech article, a web resource for technology reviewers, Microsoft Research has just unveiled a product that translates your spoken word into that of another while preserving the accent, timbre, and intonation of your actual voice. Most translation technologies require those speaking to take turns speaking into a single device, and then it relays speech in an emotionless voice. Microsoft hopes to change this while preserving the voice of the speaker and other patterns of speech which are considered integral to proper communication. The product remains in the demo phase, but the release of a YouTube video prompted quite a bit of attention from the public. The device currently works with what Microsoft has found to be the 26 most widely used languages across the globe. But perhaps the most intriguing device to come out of 2013 is a product known as Sigmo. Sigmo is a voice translating tool that crushed its $15,000 Indiegogo goal by securing more than $250,000 worth of funding prior to its release. According to Gizmag in August of 2013, Sigmo is a compact square device that can be easily harnessed to either a necklace or a wristwatch. Sigmo uses existing online translation tools to translate from one language back to another and into the original language in real time. It's designed to be the middleman in the equation, so it won't require you to interact with your phone to use it. Simply press a button on Sigmo, speak, and listen to the translation it speaks out for you and the person you're trying to communicate with. The compactness and convenience of the device is unparalleled, and the first shipment of pre-ordered devices are set to sail towards the end of this year. So now that we know a little bit more about the emerging technologies, let's consider the implications both on positive level and a negative level. Language barriers are often seen as the biggest challenge to communication, and to potentially eliminate those means good news for global business. According to infographic tool Visually in March of 2013, business risks and challenges associated with language barriers will continue to grow as domestic populations become more culturally diverse and global markets become more tightly integrated. Most Americans speak only English, and this becomes a significant business problem for companies trying to remain competitive in an increasingly international marketplace. Speech translation technology is significant in alleviating some of these concerns because it enables speakers of different languages to erase the language divide in business and cross-cultural exchange, ultimately enhancing mutual understanding, making it that much easier to seal the deal. Now, while communication will be simplified on this global scale, it also simplifies communication on a local scale. Sigmo is easily transported anywhere one needs to go, and is perfect for those who love to travel but hate being unable to communicate when they do so. Now, the concept is incredibly appealing, but it takes a little bit of criticism to understand the negative implications. Currently, the most effective way to communicate with someone in a different language is to learn that very language. But what happens when this is no longer the case? Time Magazine's November of 2012 article considers this a downfall of universal translation, when it explains that externalizing so much of what we do mentally with computers is making us shallower cognitively speaking. What happens when we outsource our brains linguistically? Would a universal translator render language instruction obsolete? Why, if you could clip something onto your shirt Star Trek style, would you bother to actually learn a second language when a computer could save the effort? In an interview with Therese Sullivan-Cackavale, the president of the National Network for Early Language Learning, she references a 2007 Harvard, Massachusetts study which showed that students who study a foreign language throughout their school day outperform those students who don't study a foreign language in every other subject. This research upholds the notion that learning a second language is in fact an exercise in cognitive problem solving. And we must understand these negative implications before deciding if universal translation tool is something we'd like to own. So today, we first explored what exactly universal speech translation is. Then we considered a few emerging technologies before finally exploring the implications, both positive and negative. The coming universal translation tools will forever change the perception that language barriers are at all a problem for communication. So you can stop speaking slowly to those who speak a different language, and please leave the baseball hand signals to the professionals, because I promise you look ridiculous.
Hello everybody. I am exchange student from South Korea. My name is Jungho Song, or as they call me in America, Scott. And this is my friend Willis Farnsworth. Willis has been on the speech and debate team, competing for individual events for conjoined tenure of 3.5 years. Willis has competed in extemporaneous, impromptu, duo, program oral interpretation, and after speaking, of which he will present tonight. After speaking is an informative or persuasive speech given with the purpose of entertaining. His speech is on zero waste. This is Willis Farnsworth.
Just the other day, I was taking out the trash when a man with a beard and only one nostril was digging through my trash can. So I ran over to him and he stopped and stared at me. A stare that could mean one of two things. First, he was scared to see me, or two, he was in heat. Then that I noticed his name tag, which stated Ragnar Smith. Yeah, makes you wonder which one of those names he got at customs. That's why I was like, hey man, get out of my trash can. Here we are, the abs. Reached into the receptacle, grabbed out a large phallic-shaped object, and started to run towards me. It was then that I said to myself, oh, he's definitely in heat. Or should I say, heated about, as he handed me the article Garbage, Last Access from Ragnar Smith, a representative of the website ThinkQuest. I really connected with him. On September 26, 2013, which states that Americans on average waste 4.6 pounds of trash per American per day, which only a quarter of which is recycled, which the rest is incinerated with the power of 1,000 burning witches, buried with the dead, where's Carl? Or thrown in a bin labeled artist, sold to MTV. This issue is consistently addressed by our Do Nothing Congress, to which they do nothing. So today, we're going to go over the problems, causes, and some solutions to this detrimental waste issue in America. Quite frankly, I'm tired of wasting American people's time. And as the Anti-Trash Coalition Waste is Bad puts it, waste is bad. So I know what you guys are saying. Oh my God, another environmental speech from a Chico State student. I bet he's like some barefooted, like tree-hugging hippie. You guys are right. But the fact of the matter is here that I walked up to Ragnar and I was like, I don't get what the problem is with me throwing away an apple core into the trash can. And he's over there leaning up against some fence post eating some really pretentious fruit like a pear. He's like, the answer is twofold. First, our landfills are highly ineffective. And second, there's generally only one waste bin to collect all the waste on campus or anywhere. And third, according to the Do Something But Wrong Something Congress in 1976, they passed the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act, which completely altered how we dispose of waste today in America. In fact, it paved the way for digging gargantuous holes in the earth, filling it with waste, and then layering it with clay or plastic. Put simply, the worst way to dispose of things. You see, Arizona State University published a finding. I know, surprised me too. Stating that they were actually able to go to landfills and find perfectly preserved hot dogs, grapes, and even corn on the cob, all dating upwards of 25 years ago. Additionally, they were able to find newspapers perfectly legible, dating 50 years ago, which I'm sure had headlines along the lines of "Heretic burned at the stake," for saying organic waste wouldn't break down in landfills. Second, there's generally only one option to dispose of our waste. But luckily, here in Calusa, we have 3 bins. So we're going to see just how effective Chico State students are at disposing of things in the right bins.
Whacked, but.
Welcome to Chico State. So here we have a compostable item like a napkin, a ruffle bag, which is actually just general waste, a can, which could be recycled for like 5 cents, and then I mean, excuse me, someone threw away an entire banana. Reminds me oddly of a speech I gave 4 years ago. The fact of the matter is,
Oh my God.
The fact of the matter is that this stuff could be composted or recycled, but it isn't. It sounds like a really tart banana too. But even though we were given the option, Chico State students and faculty, you guys didn't do it. So, how's this? So I'm like, right, he's like, well, let me tell you something. All right, laid on. He's like, you know what really stinks after digging through the trash can? I was like, no. What? He's like, your fingernails, especially if you don't clip them. I was like, come on, Ragnar, what do I look like? Some like dude digging through the trash, like sniffing random body parts like my nipples? So honestly, it does depend on how often I clip them. Positives are attributed to 2. First, we design things to be thrown away. And second, there's little to no incentive to recycle. First, according to the New York Times article, Lunch, Landfills, and What I Tossed, not to be confused with the San Francisco Examiner article, Brunch, Handfuls, and Who I Tossed, September 6, 2012 states that those items, especially food items, are designed with a single-use mentality in mind. I mean, at any given moment when you're leaving a drive, you're bound to leave with a paper bag and wax cartons and cups which do not break down in a compost cycle. Plastic knives, forks, and spoons, diabetes, and a family saying, Dad, you shouldn't have ordered those chicken nuggets. Which at the end of the night, you're generally just left with this one waste bin to deposit all this waste in compostables and recyclables. As your family stares down at your pocket saying, Dad, you shouldn't have ordered those chicken nuggets. Second, there's little to no incentive. You see, here in America, it's cool to hate things like blacks, gays, to Muslims. Yeah. Oh, and if you're a black Muslim, a lot. Definitely going to help with that. Probably not Juno.
Oh my
The only way this current system would ever work is if 2/3 of us just drove ourselves to the beach and walked right in. We'd have all occupations line up like a bunch of plumbers. It's like plumb that pipe better than 66% of those other guys are just put the wrenches in your pockets and walk right in. And I'd be there too, with a bunch of other, after dinner speakers, comedians, tumblers and clowns. And I don't know if I would make it. Just be kicking a can like, oh, maybe I just wasn't funny enough. And that's when Ragnar grabbed my face, pulled me in, looked straight in my eyes, and he said, 0 waste. I was like, don't flatter me. More like a 13 women's. Then I realized what he was saying. This whole idea where nothing is destroyed and everything can be reused. Which brings me to the solutions, which are twofold. First, governmental, and second, societal. First, governmental. We can adopt nationwide a program like the California Redemption Valley, what we do with our cans and bottles for moolah. In fact, according to their website, it states that they have over a 100% reclamation rate. Over 100%, you may be asking? Yes, because bordering states are coming in and taking advantage of our system. I know what you're saying. When the hell did Mexico become a state? I'm not talking about Mexico. I'm talking about those damn organs. Second, we can do what Chad W. Lutz's stereotypical white guy name states in his article, paying with plastic. And we can do what China's doing right now, where we can pay with a train ticket for plastic bottles or cans, which is a marked up improvement over their last program where you can pay for your water bill with the fetus of your second born. Lastly, we can do what San Francisco is doing right now and just have separate bins for compostables, recyclables, and general waste. Lastly, societal. I'm not asking you guys to do anything crazy or impossible or change the world. I mean, I'm already on my 3rd try on Rosetta Stone Spanish. What I am asking is for a personal responsibility to throw away things that can be thrown away or recycled. Because when it's going to the landfill, it's just polluting our water, polluting our land. Just when you thought it couldn't get any worse than So, today we went over the problems, causes, and some solutions to this detrimental waste issue in America. Look, it can't be done overnight, but I'm hoping that you guys can take this knowledge and share it with others. And it means taking that extra step to deposit that can or that bottle, or looking on the other side of plastic parts and seeing if they are in fact recyclable. So have your way and do it. So as I helped Ragnar gather his things, a police car pulled up and he was promptly arrested for trespassing and lewd conduct. Now, even though his story may be a sad one, let's not let the information he gave us go to waste. All right, that was our last speaker. Thank you very much for speech night. Can we get one more round of applause for our speaker? So thank you all for showing up. Make sure to see someone in the back from the speech and debate team to sign off on your pamphlet so when you turn it into your instructor, we know you're here. We know you're here the whole time. And again, if you have any interest in doing this,
Yeah, well, I mean, besides the
You sound real pretty.
I really like